Thank you, Fola. So every time I host a webinar, Accra, amazing. Hi, Abdul. Thank you for joining us. Your child is 4 as well. It's always a great pleasure to host one of these webinars, and it's an opportunity to connect with our audiences. And I'm so thrilled that we've got few of you from the US, majority from the UK, Accra, and Canada. So thank you so much for giving me your time this evening, this afternoon, or whatever your time is where you are. I love talking about reading. It's how I started my journey into education for my children. And it's been a game changer for us as a family. And we've been able to support several families as well for the last 10 to 11 years. So thank you so much for giving up your time this evening, afternoon, and wherever you are. So by way of introduction, before I go into that, I just want to tell us the structure of the webinar so that if you have any burning question, you can pop it into the chat while the presentation is going on. While I stop, I will have a look at it and I can answer some of the question, but we will have ample time towards the end where you can answer your question. If you like, you can put on your video. If you want to connect more, it's welcome. If not, it's also fine if you want your video off. So by way of introduction, you might wonder why do I have the right to speak to you? My name is Lara Okpor. First of all, I'm a mom of 2. Doesn't define me, but it actually led me into the journey of working with parents in the education sector for children. I've early time of my career, I've worked in compliance, I've worked in management, retail management for quite a long time, then banking and then education for the last 20 plus years. I love everything about children and teenage education entrepreneur. My head is always calculating how to support parents because I was supported and it made a huge difference to my children and to myself. I'm also a certified reading specialist and I love teaching children to read. If you ask me, that's one of the things that really, really makes me happy, children learning to read, because you actually see the transformation in weeks. My children learn to read at age 3 plus. I've been able to be given the opportunity to build 4 education platforms in the last, probably after I update the slide, 10 years. And these settings have taught over 800 children to read from scratch and moved up 2 to 3 reading level within 6 to 12 weeks, depending on where they start with us. I've worked alongside parents to boost their child's reading in maths, in English, exam success, and be able to place children in top grammar schools and independent school. And I believe that every child can make progress with the right support, the right environment, and you as a parent being your child's greatest advocate. So that's a little bit about me. I love to encourage parents because I believe that it can be challenging as we raise children at this time. So it's always an opportunity to be able to have parents to talk to. So going into it, what is reading? I will present for another 30, 40 minutes, and afterwards we have the time to have questions. So reading is the skill or activity of getting information from written words. So that's just the basic description from the dictionary, Cambridge Dictionary. What is reading? Is the skill or activity of getting information from written words. And then we then translate this to our children. So what is reading for our kids? It is a multifaceted process involving word recognition, comprehension, fluency, and motivation. And reading is making meaning from print. So everything around us has words on it. You go into the supermarket, the food labels, they have words on it. Everywhere on the bus, there's a word. You pick up a book, there's a word. Even a phone, it's got words on it. So it requires that we identify the words in print, which is a process called word recognition. And we construct an understanding from them, which is a process called comprehension. However, the starting point is always that word recognition, which is what we are focusing on to ensure our children can make meaning of the world around them. Coordinate identifying words and making meaning so that reading is automatic and accurate, which is an achievement called fluency. So we start from word recognition, we then move on to comprehension, and then there's fluency where your child can just read, understand, and is automatic and accurate decoding of words. So that is a brief summary for me. What is reading? Today, in the webinar, we're going to concentrate on the process to support your child to learn to identify words in print, which is recognition, which will eventually lead to meaning. So for me, when I was teaching my children, as always, my son, my first child, was my scapegoat because you're a new mom and you didn't know what to do. And I'll just share a little bit of my story. Well, I mean, when you're a first-time mom, you're so eager to do the best for your child. So I did all of that. Went to nursery. We did everything we're supposed to do. And then when he was 3, I just wanted to know what to do with him because I knew he was going to start a full-time education, was going to go to a preschool of a proper school, so not a nursery. And that was like 3 hours a day, a thing like that. And I wanted him to, I didn't know what to do with him. So I asked a friend that had older child, and she said to me, teach him to read. And I was like, teach him to read. How do you teach a child to read? And she recommended a place. I was like, wow, another two session. Every time he sees words on the bus, he is decoding in the bathroom when he wants to wash his hands, and he sees the Carex hand wash, he's sounding them out. And I was like, that can't be right. I mean, how in the world, in them seeing my child for 2 weeks, they are able to, it was the curiosity for me that everything he saw, he wanted to decode and try what he has learned once a week at that session. So that's what led me into this journey. And that gave me a lot of clarity. I clearly knew what to do with him. And that's why I wanted to replicate with other parents. And we've successfully done that for the last 10 plus years. So for our children, if you hear some of the videos I make, it's about teaching your child sound instead of letters. They don't need to know they don't even need to know the letters. My daughter didn't know the letter name. She knew it, but she wouldn't read with us. She wouldn't even pronounce the letter. Every time it was spelling test, she used our sound to spell. So today we concentrate on that process of recognition, which involves sound, symbol, and then meaning for our children. And what do I mean by sound? Sound is the sound of the letters that they hear. So I'm going to use letters for us as parents. So if you see A, B, C, A, and we see the word cat, as a parent, you see letter C-A-T. It's not C-A-T. It's not sat when you see the word cat. We use our sound to be able to read. So if you have a child that is 2, if you're already teaching them the letters, please stop, because they will have to unlearn that to be able to learn the sound to be able to read. I did an assessment for a almost 4-year-old child 2 weeks ago, and she knew the sound, but because she had learned the letters first, the first recall when she sees a letter is the letter name. And because of that, it delayed her blending. So we had to expose her a little bit, like few weeks before we can actually start the process of blending, because the first recall, she sees a letter, she tells you the letter name and not the sound. Even when you then probe, she knows the sound, but that's not the first recall. So it's very important that we teach our child the sounds of the alphabet and not the letter. Symbol, this is how this sound looks like, that is the letters, and being able to form these letters. So reading and writing goes hand in hand. So meaning is the sound symbol on its own does nothing. So if a child sees a sound or letter C and they see the symbol of it, it means nothing to them. But when they can recognize that the sound in the word cat, like cat, they can hear the sound, they recognize this, the next step is they want to know what the meaning is. So a cat means an animal that meows, so have a sound like that. So I don't want to lose us, and I don't want to be too technical. So if you have any question, please pop into the chat, but it's just good to be able to give us this foundation as parent, and why it's very important that we teach the sound of the letters and not the letter name itself. So why learn to read? Our children need to learn to read, to interact with print. They need to learn to read, to discover the world around us, because everything is in print. Everything. They see a toy in the shop, you have to read the description to be able to buy it for them. You see something on TV, the children have to be able to read it. There's subtitles. Everywhere we have prints. They need to be able to read, to discover the world around them. They need to be able to interact with the world around them. It supports learning of other subjects. So once your child is able to read, English is easier because they can decode the words. Math is easier to understand because it comes to a point where there are words in maths, and it's not just it's no more numbers. They have to be able to read the words. So our children need to learn to read because of this. And also it gives your child a confidence and a sense of well-being and dignity, because then they can pick a book and be able to, oh, mommy, even if they can't read in the beginning, you are able to read with them, pointing to the words as young as they are. So knowing how to read helps our children feel independent, and it gives them a sense of well-being and dignity. So just wanted to make that clear. And now I'm going to go to how did I start with my children? As a young mom, so even if this is your third child, is still the same. The way I started with my children was that I had that desire for my son to read. He's 15 plus now, sitting his GCSE next year. And he says, Mom, you always talk about me at your webinars. Yes, because you are the background to my story. But I had that desire. I wanted him to know how to read. He was going to school. I didn't want to just get him to school and let him figure it out. It was just a desire within me. And I was curious about it. Okay, what do I need to do to get him to be able to read? Or what do I need to do to be able to help my child? And then I asked questions. I asked my friends that had older kids, okay, what did you have to do with your child? If I didn't have that friend, I could probably use Google, maybe, or now AI could give you the answer. But actually, you want a real life example or somebody that has actually gone through that path that you are going through. And then what I did next, which is one of the most important thing, is to take action. I just didn't stop at the desire, because we have a lot of parents, we speak to a lot of parents. They sometimes come to a webinar like this, they feel pumped up, they give us a ring, and they do nothing about it. But for me, if you want to make a difference in your child, is have the desire, be curious, ask questions, and take action, because that's what will bring the transformation. So first of all, what do you really want for your child? It's a question that you can answer. What do you want for your child? What would you want your child to be? Do you want your child at 5 to be able to read? Do you want your child at 2? Some parents are starting early. And at 2, some parents are like, are you trying to tell me that why it doesn't have to be formal? No, you can just make books, you can make reading together fun, you can make the sounds fun. You can say, okay, look around you, go and find the sound, anything in the house that starts with the socks, go and look for socks in the house. So there are different ways we can help our children learn to read, or just build that curiosity within them. Second, I wanted to know how to help my child. And as a parent, you are your child's best teacher. Even though when you get support, they can only work well when you and the support are in sync towards helping your child. Third, I ask questions. So if you don't know what to do, please do ask the question. And once you know what to do something about it. Don't let time, convenience, or money deter what you need to do for your child. Where there is a will, there's a way. Somebody used this illustration for me that if your child has a sight problem, if they can't see, or they need glasses, you don't wait, you take them to an optician, they get glasses for them. If your child needs to learn to read, get support to help them. Don't say it will come with time, because eventually it will come with time. However, when will it come? So we just have to be very conscious about that. So I just want us to listen to Jorge, one of our parents. Our son came to us when he was 3. And he was one of the children that when I met, I was like, no, I think you need to go back home and spend some time with mom and dad. But once he entered our setting and entered the classroom, it was like a time bomb. It just soaked in everything that was being said in class. And today is around 4 plus. He's already doing maths, year 2 maths with us because his foundation was very, very solid. So Fala, you can play the video
I think the
for
impact for my son has been beyond reading. So just to focus on the reading aspect, he is done very, very well. So he's currently 4 and he started just after he turned 3, and he's already reading at a 5 to 7 year range, which is fantastic. He really, really grasped the concepts, and he grasped them so quickly. And I'm incredibly happy because that's exactly what I wanted. It was at the point where his interest was being piqued, but I didn't have the tools, the capacity, or the time to help him. And it was just perfect that Ant Learning came in to give him exactly what he needed. And just even outside of reading, he's so confident. He's very vocal because he can tell, and he's proud of himself. And seeing his progress and seeing how much he's learning, he's so satisfied when he sees a long word or a really difficult word and he's able to read it or break it down. Overall, I think it's really, really tremendously helped him. He's years above where he should be, and that's really good for us. My name is Ore. I've got a son that started Ant Learning when he was 3, and he's been in the program, the reading program now, for over a year. We were considering private tuition because we noticed that our son was very interested in his letters and he was trying to start forming words together. And we noticed that because we had taught him the names of the letters as opposed to the sounds of the letters, we were teaching him the names instead of the phonetics, he was struggling a little bit. So I'd started doing some research, but also because some of my friends had started doing for their older kids, I started looking in for my son as well. So I came across one of the videos from Ant Learning that was talking specifically about the mistakes that parents make in teaching their children the names of the letters as opposed to the phonetic sounds. And that's what piqued my interest. And then when I was comparing Ant Learning to another provider, I found that because it actually teaches the children the concept that they require to learn as opposed to just guiding them to figure it out, I felt that was more suited for my son being younger than most kids who would be starting the program. The workbooks that are given to them when they come home from the Saturday sessions have been very, very good because it breaks down for the parent or the carer, how to go through the tasks with the children, and that's very helpful because of the different ways we've all been taught how to read or learn certain things. So that's been tremendous. I think second to that has been the Wednesday catch-up sessions. That's also been very useful, specifically for me, because then I've been able to see how the teachers go through these things with him as well. So I'm not just making this up by myself and deciding to teach him the way I deem fit or based on how I was taught, but I'm able to see how the tutor is teaching and teaching other students, and I'm able to pull from that when I'm doing the catch up of the revision sessions with him at home. So those two things have been very useful.
That's great. So, it was just good to share with you if your child is 3 and you're considering what do I need to do, or if your child is 2, I also mentioned what you can start doing with your child before we can take them as well. And if your child is 4, already knows the sound, but they're struggling with blending, we can also support you to move them 1 reading level or 2 above where they currently are. So the second concept I want to just also mention to us is about learning to hear, because our children need to be able to hear themselves, especially when they say the sounds, to be able to blend them together. Hearing has everything to do with learning to read. So if a child has difficulty hearing the individual sound, which to us as parents is phonemes of words or speech, he or she may experience some challenges in learning to read effectively. So I know majority of us are in the UK, US, or Canada, or even in Ghana. Don't miss out on the hearing test offered to children between the ages of 2 and 3. When my kids was young, I used to wonder, why do they have to test their hearing? It didn't make sense to me until when I could link hearing with learning to read, because in class, if a child is very silent when we're teaching the sound, we tell them you need to shout because we want them to hear themselves so that they can hear the sound properly. And then there's a way when a child hears the sound that the blending automatically starts coming together. So if your child is unable to hear the sounds or your words, it will be challenging for him to be able to hear the sounds and read. So they need to hear the sound so they know the right way to say it back to you. And I always also say to the parent, oh, some parents say, I'm not taught the way the teacher teaches it, but you can say the word. So for example, you know cat. You can say, you know that is the first sound, which is letter C. So you just have to take, you know, ah, and you know, t. What I just encourage our parents is don't make it longer. Don't say ka. No, we want not t. Because if we had a sloppy sound at the end, it can also make blending challenging. Don't worry, we'll make it as easy as possible for us to understand. So practical tips to kickstart your child's reading. Communicate with your child. Second one is phonemic awareness, which is where we're teaching the sounds instead of the letters, synthetic phonics, and motor skills and handwriting. In the beginning, I mentioned to us that reading and writing goes hand in hand. Sometimes we have children that join us at 3, before they're 4, they finish that program, they can read like a 6 or 7-year-old, but their motor skills, their handwriting is very behind. So as you are teaching or helping your child, we want to make sure that give them that pen. I understand you don't want them to write on your wall, but give them a whiteboard, give them something that they can write with. They can scribble, it's okay. They can play with clusters, they can play with rice. Just make sure it's supervised. If you're not there, maybe limit the size of the item. But we want to make sure that the fine skill of their fingers is constantly working to make it stronger, so that when they start to form the letters, for you is sound, it is easier and not challenging for them. So I will go through the 4 tips to support your child, irrespective of where they are at the moment. If they're 2 years old, if they're 4 years old, if they're 5 years old, these are the 4 components that's very, very important to support your child. So when I say communicate with your child, the parent that we just listened to, Hore, one thing I noticed when I met her son was that he was able to interact with an adult. And this was because mom and dad constantly spoke to him. So it's important that you speak to your child, talk to them as if they're an adult, because you want them to interact as much as possible, interact with your little ones, play. You might wonder, I'm very busy, but yet the time your children spend with you is the most precious time to them. You can ask them, do you want this? Do you want that? What is the most important time? I just want to spend time with mommy and dad. Most of the time, that is the question. That is the answer the children give us at the centers when we ask them, what do you enjoy most about about time with mom and dad? Oh, the fun time we have, or, just being around mommy and daddy. So they really, really love being around us. So please have conversations with them, play with them, have fun, go to the park and play. All this interaction helps your child to be alert to the world around them, and they become confident to be able to speak out when they're going out. So it's very, very important that we communicate with our children. So I'm going to go through the phonemic awareness now. So phonemic awareness is the ability to hear, identify, and work with the phonemes. To you, it's sound. Phonemes are the smallest units of sounds that work together to make words like cat. So that's the individual sounds in the word cat. Cat. And we want our children to be able to hear this when they hear the word cat or when they hear us speak. So we want the way you expose them to the sounds, the phonemes, it's really very important as they learn to read. And the third one is, so how do you develop phonemic awareness in your child? So as you're reading and enjoying that book at night, try to point to the text as you read. It helps your child develop print awareness. So there is focus and more emphasis on the word. Because I remember when my son was small and probably before bedtime, we're reading, there's this, is it Hungry Caterpillar book there's this, I can't remember the name now. It's not a monster book. Anyway, any book your child enjoys reading. When you're reading, please point to the text. It helps your child develop print awareness. There's focus more on the word. And sometimes you might emphasize the word as you read. It helps your child pay more attention to the words as you read. And then pick random words in the text. Probably start with very small, short words. Pick random text, segment them. So for example, if you see a word like red, You can say red and stretch it and smoothly blend it together. So don't just stretch it without saying the word. So red, red. What is in the house that is red? You want to show me anything in the house that is red? So as you're enjoying the text together, they can see that I'm able to blend and separate the words and be able to put them back together to read. It helps your child identify sounds in words and the positioning of these sounds in words. Like putting together these sounds, you have words which have meaning. Now they've put together red, they know that makes red, and red is anything in the house that is bright and colorful or red, because they can put the sound to meaning. And then pick random words in your speech during the day as you interact with them during the weekend, throughout the day in the car. Make your conversations randomly, pick words to segment and blend. Don't teach your child letter names, as I said before. They need the sounds of the alphabet. So that's one of the ways you can you develop phonemic awareness in your child. And then synthetic phonics. So this is about teaching children the simple concept that the symbols of the alphabet they see represent sounds, and teaching them the ability to connect these sounds together to form the words we hear. So in essence, you're teaching your child to convert symbols, which is the letters, to sound through effective decoding strategies without the first memorization of the entire word. English language has a lot of words. How many words can our child or your children actually memorize? We want them to be independent. We want them to be reading detectives, that they can break a sound, they can break a word down using the sound, put them back together and read and understand it. So this is how you help your child become a fluent phonetic reader. And the last one is fine motor skills and handwriting. Holding a pencil. So we teach our children how to hold a pencil, like the tripod method, froggy legs. You put the pen on the table, they turn their fingers like this and they hold it. So sometimes they come to us last day with a dagger, like that style. So we need to teach proper way of holding a pencil, scribbling, drawing. Sometimes it can pass from left hand to right hand. After a while, you can see that they stick to one of the hands. So drawing and tracing, crosses and circles, all of this. Sometimes when you see in bookshops, you see coloring books, you see colors of tracing or circles. All these things help build the motor skills of your child. Feeding themselves. So a 2-year-old, please, of course, be supervised. Let them feed themselves. I know we don't want mess around us, but at the same time, they need to learn to be independent, and all of these activities help them develop fine motor skills and help their handwriting. Picking up cherries from the table to the bowl and vice versa. So their cereal, they can just pour a little bit. As they pick them, they are exercising the fine motor skills in their fingers, and the stronger it gets, the easier it becomes for them to write. So write races with tweezers, obviously, let it be supervised. The tweezers, they're trying to hold that together. Same thing is building motor skills. Cutting through straight and curved lines. So they're children-friendly scissors that they can use. Just give them some of the curvy lines, sheet of paper, get them to cut it. Building Legos together, blocks or puzzles, all of this help build fine motor skills in your child. Play-Doh and sculpturing, finger and brush painting, water play, watercoloring game with eyedropper, gardening and planting. If you've got good weather and they can play outside, all of this helps develop both the gross and the fine motor skills in your child. Before we move on, I just want us to listen to Fumi as well, how she was able to support her child with reading.
The advice we were given was little and often. So I think when we came into it with a mindset that, oh my goodness, we have to do so much, all the time. But actually, we were given really good advice of little and often. So it could be in the car on the journey there or the journey back. It can be where we're going to the supermarket, just doing little things like doing the sounds, and just reinforcing the learning. So our mantra became little and often, and that's how we've done it.
That's great. So she had a question when she joined. They live a very busy life. So how can we incorporate this into the daily life? And we provide you with a structure, and it's 10, 15 minutes a day. it's better than 40 minutes in one session. Because our children are young, especially if they're between 2 and 5. 4 to 5, if they started school, they can actually take some time, 30 minutes, but you have to gradually build that skill up. But we just have to be mindful that little and often really makes a huge difference than bombarding your child with 40 minutes of handwriting. It's not going to happen. They will cry, you get frustrated, and we will not achieve what we need to do. So if you want to incorporate it into your daily life, let's start with 5-10 minutes. And as they develop this, the skill, we can encourage them to increase that. So wherever we are now, I just want to talk about different age groups and what you can do with your child. So if your child is less than 2 years, for example, please talk to them, sing with them, cuddle. You wonder, well, Lara, why are you giving me a practical step or action I can take now to help my child? Yes, even for pregnancy. If you're pregnant right now, play music, dance, and be happy. It makes a huge difference in what comes out of your body when your child is born. From day one, you want to make sure your voice is their favorite sound. Even now they're 2, you want to sing together. You want to talk about your day like a story. You want to sing nursery rhymes so your child can be aware of the different sounds. You know what you're doing, even though you're just having fun. You're gradually getting your child to understand phonemic awareness, synthetic phonics. And when you drag those sounds together, you're just making them aware that these words we see have sounds within them that makes the word. So you want to introduce fabric or board books because they're quite young. They like to feel. And when they feel these things, it really helps them. You want to enjoy reading to your child. As you do this, point to pictures, name what they can see so that your baby or your child can soak this in. Later in the day, before they go to bed, you want to do the same thing. And when you're talking to them, let them watch your mouth. When you're speaking, letting them touch the books to feel it, even if they chew the book sometimes, it's okay. Lullabies, rhymes, everything you do, make funny expression, all of this really goes a long way to enjoy being present with your bundle of joy. And what you're doing is being present. And even if you go out to work, it's something that we can do whenever you reconnect with your child. So also label, point, and play. As you do this, at a 2-year-old, they're toddler, and majority of them are already starting to speak. You want to capitalize on them. Their brain is like a language overdrive. The more words they hear and see, the stronger their vocabulary. Over the summer, we had a child come to the center. He was just turning 3, but the English and the vocabulary that came out of his mouth, I just had to tell his mom, wow, you've got a grown-up in little body here, because he didn't want to leave his mom, and he just said, oh, mommy, you're breaking my heart. I don't want to leave you. And the things he was saying are things that adults say to each other. I just think, wow. And what mom said, it picks up words a lot. So it's very important that we expose our children to different vocabulary. And when they don't know what you've said, they're going to ask you, what does that mean? Then you explain to them what that means. One, that word is going to stay in their mind. Repetition locks in language a lot when we do that to our children. For library visits, choose books with repetition, animals, sounds, match objects to pictures and books. Here's the dog, I will quack, sick rhymes, things like that. And yeah, children love. Talk all day, name what you see, read that same book over and over again. I'm sure you know it. Some of our children want to read the same book like 100 times. It's okay. Let them do it, because the more of that word they hear, the more it sticks in their brain for them. So those tiny moments add up, and capture them with your phone, record them, because as they grow up, you can always enjoy having that and laughing together. My kids and I always go back to our photos and videos that I have or in the phone, and it just reminds you that they've had a great childhood because you were present while they were learning, indirectly learning. Now your child is between 2 to 3 years old. What are you supposed to do? At this point, you want to talk more, as I said, you want to read more, and they love pretend play. You might wonder, Lara, this has nothing to do with reading. By the time we finish, you understand why everything we're talking about in their early development helps your child build this curiosity in them in order to be curious about text in a book that they're going to see. But it starts with what we do with those foundational years. So talk more, read more, pretend play. is this time now you want to turn story time into a full experience. And at this age, toddlers, children between 2 and 3 are soaking up 5 to 10 new words a day. Their brains are like language sponges, and play is their superpower. So you want to incorporate as much learning in that playtime. So for example, when you're reading The Hungry Caterpillar for like the 50th time, ask question. Oh, so what is the caterpillar going to do next? Connect stories to their day and encourage pretend play to spark their imagination. Because once they grow up, all of this that they've done will help them in their writing as well, when they're writing short stories later on. You can use their favorite stuffed toy to make up stories. If it's a bear, oh, you can ask open question. Why do you think the bear is sad? Or let's scribble and write. I know you don't want your child writing on your wall, but it's fine. But this practice is the beginning of writing. So instead of them writing on your wall, give them whiteboard, give them scrap paper that they can do and use, put them on a table or their own little chair, and just let them scribble as much as possible. Do dress-ups and pretend play with the story characters to boost comprehension. And you all this hickory dickory dock, all of these things helps them to be aware of the language and the different vocabularies in this word. They don't need to sit still or say their ABCs at all. Please don't teach the letter, as I've always said. They just need you talking to them, playing with them, showing the sounds as you go along in your day. So now let's think about it. My child is now 3 to 5 years. If you have any question that is specific to your child, please pop it in the chat. We'll soon end the presentation and I'm able to answer your question. What should my child between the ages of 3 to 5 years? So between age 3 to 5, if before 3 they don't know their sounds, this is the point you want them to learn their sounds. My son started around 3.5. However, by 3, for my daughter, she was reading. One, because she was already exposed to that in the house. When I'm reading or doing work or doing revision with my son, she was there listening and she was just soaking them all in. And sometimes they say girls are quicker. I don't believe so. I just think once the environment is suitable for your child, they pick up on these things. So we want your 3-year-old, if they don't know their sounds, to start learning the sounds. We want them to learn to blend as well. So once they learn the sounds, we want them to learn to blend. And we want them to learn to write. For children between 4 and 5 who have already started school, and they know their sound, blending, 3 to 4 letter words is the next step. Writing should have been coming along as they're learning to blend. And if they already have established 3 to 4 letter words, now we want to move into the more advanced sounds where 2 sound pictures, which is, let's say, for example, C and H represent one sound, like ch, or TCH represent one sound, like ch. Those are the more complex sounds, or even words in bike, which has the vowel plus S sound, and more tricky sounds depending on where your child is. So if this is where you have the opportunity to pop in your question, if you have children between the ages of 3 to 5, so that I can answer each specific question accordingly. So here you have real talk with your child, and now you're thinking about big school. You want to teach sounds of the alphabet. Kids are exploring, playing with sounds, telling wild stories. You know, they come up with beautiful stories that you're like, how come this child can put all of this together? And it's just their brain building on all the things they've been exposed to before 3. You play games. Simon says to take steps. You're trying to teach them 2-step instruction because they're going to learn to listen when they go back, when they get to school. This can help your child develop listening skills. Practicing writing his name with paint or chalk or whiteboard pen before we introduce quite fine pencils to them. Play rhyming games, sound health puzzles, different motor skill activities, and enjoy simple storytelling. Now they are your new best friend. You want to give them step-by-step instruction so that they can start to build on their listening skills and follow instruction skills, and try to limit the distraction when you're doing any kind of activity so that their focus is on one thing at a time. We want to build strong readers at this time. It will be very important to read with your child. Even if they can't read to them before or during the day. You want to build strong readers, literacy skills. It starts sometimes from the womb if you're listening or reading to them. and not in the classroom. One book, one rhyme, one fun activity moment at a time. If you say my child can't focus, how can I make them follow instructions? So you want your child to be at your level. So of course, our little ones are quite small, so you need to come down to their level and face-to-face conversation. Get within close proximity so that they can stay in the moment with you, and then establish eye contact. Your eyes must not move from them, and then give them the instruction that you want to give. I'm just going to look into the chat to see if there are any questions I can quickly go through before I move on. Abigail, so I want to ask, how does it work with bilingual children? In as much as I want my child to learn English, I want them to be able to maintain their local dialect. How do I then teach her more English because we're in an English-speaking country? Thank you, Abigail. That's a fantastic question. So definitely, to be sincere with you, it will be slightly challenging because unless they are going, so I assume, I'm not sure about the age, but let's assume your child is between 3 and 5. So they might be going to school where if it's English, they have the exposure. Children are very smart. They know how to compartmentalize and they are able to associate a different way of being wherever they are. So if you want to teach them English, we're still maintaining your local dialect. When you're having conversation with them, you can have the conversation in your local dialect. However, there might be a time when you want to teach learning to read, to be able to read English language. So that's the time you bring in the sounds and use your English to do that. But one of the things you can do is also mix and match. Obviously, if you're speaking in English at one time, keep to it. And if you're speaking your local dialect, keep to it. Because when you then interchange, I'm an African, so sometimes when we're speaking our language, we introduce English into it. And my children look at me, because you're so used to it, they're like, Mommy, you lost me. But if you're speaking your local dialect, just maintain that in that conversation. And when it's time to speak English, maintain that so your child can differentiate between the two. But it's more about learning the language as you are teaching them to read. So you're teaching them to be able to decode the English language. So you use the sounds so they know that this is what we're doing. I hope I was able to answer your question. Winifred said, my daughter is 2. She knows the letters and the sounds. We are working on blending now. CVC, well done. What resources would you recommend to effectively teach her? I've been using a writing board to blend the word sounds, but not sure if I can incorporate flashcards or other resources. So well done, Winifred, that you've been able to teach your 2-year-old the sounds. That's amazing. Some children, it takes them a whole year at reception, age 4, to learn that. So you've done a great job already. So with regards to resources, yes, you can use flashcards. And you can make them yourself as well. So just get white paper or colored paper, whatever anything that your child fancies, if they like bright colors, or if you have magnetic alphabets, you can use that as well, because that's even more fun and colorful for your child. And then you can put them together and drag them as you're trying to teach your child blending. So you can incorporate that. Other resources at this point, blending games, if you're able to find them. But I think because you've already done a great job with teaching the sound, this is now up to starting with probably 2-letter words before you move into 3-letter words. So even within the 3-letter words, you want to start with 2 blends before you move to the 3rd one. So they know how to blend 2 letters, 2 sounds, beg your pardon, before you start the 3rd one. It just makes it easier for her. Remember, she's still 2. Try to make sure it's fun for her at this age. Mofoluwake says, how do I help my child who is 3 to focus on reading as she gets easily distracted? That's a very common challenge, and it's normal for the age group at this point. So what I would suggest is get a sand timer. It could be for 10 minutes. If they can hold their focus for 5 minutes, use a 5 minutes sand timer. And this is the focus. You put it in front of your child and just say, we're going to do this for the next 5 minutes. Once that sand comes down, we're going to stop. So what it just does is it trains your child to maintain focus for the specific time in the sound timer. And as they get better at it, you can increase it to 10 minutes, 15 minutes, and 30 minutes. I did that. And we started with 10 minutes and we moved on to 15 minutes and then we moved on to 30 minutes because it's very real. Our children sometimes do not sit still. They're sitting still, they're fidgeting, and it's normal for children of that age group. So there's nothing wrong with your child. It's absolutely normal. I'll answer one more question and then I'll carry on. Amma said, started teaching my son, but it seems instead of looking at the sounds, he guesses it. For example, instead of cat, he will say cat. Yes, it does make sense, Amma, but what I would suggest is, you said you've started teaching the sounds. So if your child is still learning the sound, it's a bit of there's a lot of expectation to think we want them to learn how to read the words immediately. It takes a bit of time. So do they know all the sounds in the word cat? And do they know all the car is very tricky. A and R is one sound, which is the R. So car it's a very complex, even though it's R, it's AR is a very complex sound. It's a digraph. The children don't learn that until probably end of reception or year one. So depending on your child's age, we have to be careful that we are choosing words that have single sounds if they're just learning to read. So like bet, red, dog, D-U-G, D-O-G, words of different word families. So you can choose word families like 80, the words that end with 80, cat, mat, fat, hat. There's so many words you can play with. If it ends with ET, you can start with wet, net. Those words are easier for our children if they're just starting to read. Car is a very complex, even though it's three-letter words, AR is a digraph. And for a child that is just learning to read, it's a challenging one. It doesn't, the R is not no, it's R. So just be mindful of that. So I'm just going to carry on and then I'll go back to you, Kuna, and continue with our presentation. So our learning teaching method, how do we go about it and how have we successfully helped our children? We teach step-by-step instruction. And that's where we start, depending on where your child is, or if your child, we start with an assessment. If your child is not reading at all, we put them in our beginner reading where they learn the sounds, learn the blending, and the outcome of that level, which is the beginner reading, is to learn 3 to 4 letter words. So we have short reading programs, so 6 weeks to learn the sounds of the alphabet. Excuse me. And then another 6 weeks to learn to blend. So in total, if they're joining the beginner reading, that's a 12-week program. And the outcome is to learn 3 to 4 letter words. If they're online, it's 90-minute session because we are mindful that the children are on screen. And I think in the new year, we're going to break that down to around an hour session and have a break in the between, just so the children can walk around. Then we move on into the intermediate reading, and this is applicable to children between 4 and 5, or depending on their reading awareness. If they've already established 3 to 4 letter words, then we move on to the next advanced reading, and the outcome is for them to be able to have a reading age that is around 2 years above their age. So if your child is 4, we want to achieve their reading age of 6 years old. So 2 years above their chronological age. That's for the intermediate reading. And for the advanced reading, this is applicable to children between 5 and 6, or children that have learned how to read the beginner one, the intermediate. And here we teach children how to break down long extended words into chunks as well, so multisyllable words or words that do not follow the normal phonetic rhythm. So we teach step-by-step instructional teaching. There's phonemic awareness, and then there's synthetic phonics. And our schedule is twice every Saturday. There's a 9 o'clock session or at 11:30. And I'm very pleased to also inform us that from January, for our parents in the US or the UK, in the US and Canada, we will have a 2 p.m. English time, which will be their own 9 o'clock. in those areas so that your children can also join us, because we've had a few interests from parents in Canada and in the US for our program. So before I move on from here, so it's a proven step-by-step framework which has made a huge impact in over 800 children, and we teach using our sound progression method. And this is how we structure it to make sure that it's easy and structured for our children. And as your child is learning to read, they're also learning to write. So for us, it goes hand in hand. And we give our parents a structure to follow during the week, which involves playing some games, which we provide as well, and teaching you what you need to do. And we actually show our parents as well, because without you, we can't do much, even though we see the children once or twice a week, half an hour on a Wednesday, and then on a Saturday, you see your child most of the time. And so for us, it's a benefit to empower parents, because once you know what to do and you have clarity about what to do for your child has every chance in the world to make it. So for Saturday, so that's our Saturday program. It's a 12 weeks program. And for summer, we do this over 3 weeks in the summer. And literally, there is a lot of transformation. And that's the best job that I've ever done in all my career, because you see a child coming to you, holds a pencil like a dagger, and then you see them in few weeks' time be able to read and write. It's amazing. It's absolutely amazing. So I'll answer one of the questions, then I'll move on again. Kuna says, how do I support my son maintain consistent blending? He's able to sound, but at times would say a word from the blues. Welcome to the world. You've asked to blend and say the word. That's absolutely normal, Kuna. But one thing we do that has helped out the children that we teach is we slow them down. So if for example, they're trying to blend dog and they've said og, and then they just say bog, and you wonder, where did that come from? So you can say, one, they're distracted. They're not putting in the effort, because it's easier to guess. Mommy will just leave me alone. So you just have to slow them down. We're going to take our time with it. What's the first sound? What's the second sound? The third sound? Let's drag it. So use the reading finger as they're trying to read. Get him to point to the sounds, focus on the reading, and then drag the sounds together and you say the word. So sometimes they do come up with that. But if you find that he's struggling with doing 3-letter words, start with the 2 sounds. So d, or, do. And then once they're able to blend do, then add the 3rd sound. It makes it easier for your child as they're learning the skill of blending. And Ed says, this is the same with my daughter. She knows that sound, but does not consistently blend. Ed, that's common. And what as I said to Kuna, is start with 2 blends. Once they master 2 blend, add the 3rd sound, and then move on. So you can start with the 2 first blend or the last 2 blends. And once they're able to do it, it makes it easier. So instead of us trying to get them to do 3-letter words, let's start with 2 sounds from that 3 letters. And once they get confident in that, we have the 3rd blend. Yeah, sometimes they don't want to disappoint us. So it's just easier. They'll keep looking at you as they're reading. So blessed. So, and as we're doing it, please, parent, your child will read. They will read. So I want us to be gentle with them. I want us to be patient with them, because they don't want to let us down, even as that at that age, they really, really want to impress us. So it's important that we keep them engaged and make learning fun for them. One of the questions, Amma said, does it mean that the child will need to stay for the 2 hours? I'm not sure. I understand. So if they come to the center, yes, they do stay with us for 2 hours. If it's online, from January, the teaching time will be an hour, broken down into 2 half-an-hour chunks. They can have a break in the middle, and then the rest of the 30 minutes will be where parents can have conversation and any challenges, and be able to speak to the teacher and just walk through that process for the rest of the half an hour for those online. But yes, if they're coming to us to the physical location, it is 2 hours, because we have to take them to the toilet, so that takes time. They have to wash their hands. Sometimes some of them don't have breakfast and they come, so they spend probably 5-10 minutes just having a snack wash their hands, and then we carry on with the lesson. So yes, if they're coming to us, yes, they do need to stay with us for the 2 hours just to give us time not to rush them in their learning. And the expected outcome is begin reading before starting reception if it's kindergarten for your child at age 4, or even if they've started reception, we want to move them to reading levels above where they're currently at, depending on where they're starting with us. If it's intermediate reading or advanced reading, we can actually make a transformation for your child. We don't want them to guess. We want your child to stop guessing or skipping words and no longer relying on memory or sight words to read independently. When my child started reception and they come home with sight words, I discard it, because they're trying to get your child to memorize words, and they will, if they know the sounds, reading is easy. I'll rather teach the sound because it makes your child confident. It helps their spelling. My daughter didn't know the letters of the alphabet until 6. She knows what they are, but she never said it. But when she's writing her spelling, she uses a sound and accurate spelling because she knows the sound. They do know these things, the different variation of these sounds. Because one of the things that parents say is, so I'll give you an example. OE, when they come towards their advanced reading, OE as in toe, TOE, can also be, the sound can also be coat as in coat, COAT, and parent, or dough as in dough, pizza dough. So parents how do the children know the different one to use? I'm like, don't worry, we teach them the way they know it. Once they see it, they're reading detective, they'll be able to use the right sound when they see it in words. To us, it sounds a bit complicated, but once the children understand the way we teach them, it becomes easy for them to decode, and we've done it repeatedly over time. So we want our children to gain the skills to become a remarkable reader, comprehend text, and spell words at a heartbeat, and it makes them independent as well. Wave goodbye to reading difficulties and underachievement in key subjects, because it actually helps every other subject, and we want them to grow their vocabulary and read independently, accurately, and with curiosity, because that makes a huge difference with our children. So I'm just going to go back into the chat. Okay, I don't have any question, but yes, I've come to the end of my presentation, and I'm so glad you stayed with me. So this is the time to go through any question, and I can then mention any other offers that we have. Oh, one thing I want to do before is, you wonder, how do we achieve these outcomes? And I'll just go through how we achieve this outcome with your child if they come to us to support them with their reading. We have weekly live step-by-step phonics awareness lesson delivered online and delivered by our qualified and trained tutors. No matter our teachers, even if they are qualified teachers, we teach them the way we want our reading program to be taught. It's a simple, easy way to support our children with learning to read. In mainstream school, what our children achieve with us in 12 weeks is what is taught in a whole year in school. So imagine your child doing a reading program for the year. They've achieved what other children will achieve in 3 years in a year. And you wonder, why does school take their time? Because in school, probably reading it's done 30 minutes or 20, 30 minutes a day, and other things are done with it. They're singing, which is also great, but actually teaching your child and giving your child that skill, it's not the focus, or the delivery is done over time, because that's just how school is, because they go to school every day, and the school, other things will come, they have to do maths, they have to do playtime, they have to do all of that. So, but in what school achieves in 3 years, we achieve it in a year. We give you phonics workbooks incorporating phonemic awareness and syntactic phonics method, because reading and writing also go alongside. Phonics games that can be played and enjoyed in the lesson, as well as when your child is at home. Colorful reading storybooks for practice and enjoyment. You got access to your child's tutor after each lesson. So at every point in time, there's clarity about where your child is and what you need to do to support them. There's end of term assessment and report, and we give you there's a structured support program during the week. And also, we introduced this 2 or 3 years ago, where because we noticed our parents are getting busier, we introduced a Wednesday catch-up session where your child can just sit in with a teacher and we just go through what they learned the previous Saturday. And this has actually been one of the great things we've been able to do. And this is at no cost to our parents. So this is how we achieve the session. And we provide you with a homework structure during the week. We provide you with the materials. We provide you with clarity. So you're not thinking, what do I do with my child on Monday? What do I do with my child on Wednesday? This is provided to you so that you just need to trust the process, show up 10, 15 minutes with your child, do all of this, play the game as a family, and enjoy this together. Children gain the skills to become remarkable reader, and it just makes a huge difference in the outcome that we see in our children. So I've gone through how we achieve that, and we get some bonuses as well. There's phonemic awareness code book. This code book is like the summary of the 1 year program in an A5 book where you can read in the car, do together. It just summarizes everything that we teach our children when they come to us. So games as well is given to you to support and enjoy your child. And what is the investment, you might say? The investment for joining online is £400 a month, and a one-off fee of £55 enrollment fee. And one of the things that we want to do is if you're able to enroll your child by the 13th of this month, you don't have to pay the £55 one-off enrollment fee. Sorry, it's not £400 a month. It's £400 a term, which a term for us is 3 months. So it's not £400 a month. My apologies, £400 a term. That was a typo. Yes, so that can be broken down into monthly payments if that's convenient for you, or if you want to pay it as a lump sum, is also payable. And if you enroll your child by the 13th of December, we start back again on Saturday, the 10th of January for the spring term, where you nearly screamed, Alma, even me. I know. Ed said me too. Oh, bless. Yeah, it's not per month. It's per term, which is for 3 hours. 3 months, I beg your pardon. So that's the investment. For life, you don't mind, you can pop the link into the chat if you've got it. And ultimately, in life, there's always 3 choices. You can guess, continue to guess, and do nothing, leave your child to keep guessing, and sometimes wing it. Hard work, search YouTube, Google, freebies with the hope that one day it will come together and click. Or you can take action and use a proven framework and implement a proven system to help your child learn to read fluently, move them up to reading levels if they're already reading, and accelerate their reading outcome for those struggling with the reading in 12 weeks or less. I had a chat with the parents yesterday, and our child will be 7 years old in a few weeks. And when I met her, I said, why did you leave it too late? She just said, oh, but he goes to school. I said, yeah, he goes to school, but you would know if your child is struggling. Year 3 is when you want them to be going deep into their writing, their reading, math skill. It's key stage 2. And when a child at 7 knows that they can't read, it affects their confidence because they won't be able to read and join in class. So please, this is an extreme. 7 years old is an extreme, but we want to give our children the best foundation that they can have. Of course, there is a cost to no action as well. Nothing is free. Everything will cost you time. It will cost you energy. It will cost you an investment. I say our children are the greatest investment that we can have. And personally, I do not take the opportunity to be part of their journey lightly, because it's your hard work that you're investing. And apart from time, they are our precious blessing that we have, and nothing we do for them is too much. So I just want to encourage you, if you do think that your child, or you want us to support your child's reading and support them in their learning journey, it will be an opportunity to be able to do that. Please do not leave things to chance. Things don't just improve because we did nothing or time passed. No, every progress is because somebody took action. and even in your own personal career, when you move up or get promoted, it's because you took action, you showed up to work every single time, you delivered, and yes, that was rewarded. So opening to question and answer. If you want to unmute, that's fine. You can do that. Oh, Funlala raised your hand. Go on, Funlala. You can unmute and go ahead. Thank you.
Yeah, hi everyone. So
Hi.
I was able to I was part of some of the meetings because I had another call from work. So
Okay.
in case you might have covered this, if I'm asking the
Sure.
same question again. So just wondering for the online because I'm not I can't do the in person because I don't live in the
Mhm.
UK. So for the online, how does it really work for a child that doesn't really done anything online before in terms of classes. So my daughter is like 6 and she doesn't even use my phone or have any screen, iPad or anything like that, aside like TV. So that's my first question, like in terms of like engagement and also maybe for a child that maybe has struggles with attention and focusing as well. How would that actually help? Then I'm not sure if it's like a one-on-one or if it's a group setting as well. So
Okay.
just my questions here.
Thank you, Funlola. And are you training from Canada?
Yes, yes, yeah. We
Okay.
spoke some weeks ago.
Oh,
Remember?
hi. How are you? I
Good, good,
remember that.
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So great. So the structure for the online session is the first 30 minutes. It's we encourage the children to sit down. If your child is young, 6 probably because they've not done anything online, you would need to be with your child because if they've had that exposure by 6, for those that are already doing online, 6-year-old can sit without any assistance from the parent. But if your child is 3.5 to or 5, and for those, we need our parents to sit and adults to sit with your child because they can just stand up and walk away. And there's nothing we can do forever we are. So we need an adult with them to be able to navigate the screen because it's an interactive whiteboard. They have the opportunity to write on the board if the teacher wants them to, as well as feedback and show their work, or if the teacher has them to write their sounds on their own whiteboard, on their own paper. So it's an interactive session, and we use different tools online to engage the children. But the first half an hour, we call it a word building session, where we introduce the sound that we're teaching with a picture, just so that your child can associate and link the sound to meaning or the sounds we're going through. So it's a bit of interaction. The teacher will ask questions about the picture being shown, and then we now tell your child that we want to actually now learn how to read the word. If it's a dog, we want to learn how to read and write dog. So they will introduce us. So it's a bit interactive. Your child is constantly being asked to talk and communicate and interact. And when we do that, we do different sounds, probably 8, depending on the structure and the week, for like half an hour. And then we ask them to just walk around the house and do other things, and then come back after 5 minutes. Because an adult is there, they make sure they come back. If there's no adults, we won't see your child again. So we really didn't need an adult to be present with them. So after 5 minutes of break, then they come back. We do a writing using the booklet or the worksheets that we've sent or emailed to you. And we ask your child to follow through with the way the teacher is showing them how to write the sound in their own worksheet while she's showing it on the board. And we encourage them to say the sound as they're writing. So we do another 15 minutes of that. And then the last 15 minutes, if it's an hour session, is where there's an interactive game on the screen where the teacher just reiterates the sounds that was taught the first half an hour. And this is like a game where they can take turns to answer the question, but it's an interactive game. So it's the session is interactive. Your child will be able to follow along. With regards to paying attention, probably if they've not used the screen before, they might be fidgety for the first 2-3 sessions. But we do encourage you to hang in there, because as they get used to it, children actually look forward to that on our session with their teacher every week on a Saturday or on a Wednesday. And did I answer all your questions, Funlala? If I didn't, so I know you answered.
I think you did. So it's like a group class, or how
Correct. So that
many
was the other one.
Yeah.
So we have a group session. There's a group class at that time. However, if you think your child or your schedule doesn't match the group session, you can reach out to us, and we do offer one-to-one as well. And the one-to-one is bespoke based on the time that suits you and the teacher. So you tell us your availability and we'll match a teacher to that time. So that's how the one-to-one works. But for the group session, it's a standard time on a Saturday. For those in the UK, it's 9 o'clock. And for those in Canada and US, it will be a 2 o'clock start from January.
Okay. On Saturdays, yeah. Is there
Correct.
like an assessment that is done prior to the class to know where the child is based
Correct.
on?
Yes. So once you sign up, we organize a 10, 15-minute assessment with you online to be able to ascertain where your child is. If your child is not reading at all, we don't need to assess, because then we know where to start with them. But if they've already been introduced to reading, if they know their sounds and it's just blending, we can then place your child based on their level and their ability.
Okay.
Ed says, do you group the children? Did I finish answering your question from Lola?
Yes, you did. And if anything comes up, I can always email. Yeah.
Correct. Yes. Thank you so much for joining. Do you group the children of similar ages together for online, or do you group them? We group them based on their ability. So we do an assessment. I think Fola has answered that. Yes, before enrollment. And based on the assessment, we place your child. So we have, as we said before, we have the short programs, we have the beginner reading, intermediate reading, and the advanced reading. And your child is placed based on their reading age when we assess and based on their ability. Thank you, Ed. Amma said, so for one-to-one, should I email to inquire about that? Yes, you can. And that's office@antlearning.co.uk. Ed also wants that shared, Paula. Great. Do we have any other person with any question? Winifred said, do you still offer the self-led option parents to teach their kids? Yes, we do. And that's the sound progression method. Yes, which has a step-by-step instruction on what you need to do to support your child. So for example, this is very good for parents with 2-year-olds. We don't take the children until they're 3+. We want them to enjoy mommy and daddy before then. So, but this program is something you can actually go through, take your time with it if your child is 2, and introduce the sounds. It could be maybe the set 1 sounds in for 2 weeks until they get it. We've put the link in the chat for you, Winifred, so you can have a look at that. Just going through if there's any more questions. And if you want a quicker response as well, we've got the WhatsApp number in the chat, and you can WhatsApp us on that. So we've come to the end of the webinar. Do we have any question before I wrap up so that I can give you 13 minutes back on your Thursday night? So we will send a copy of the recording to everyone that is registered for it. So if you want to listen to it, and for those that missed it as well, this will be sent to us by email within 24 hours so that you can listen to it or share it with anybody or your friends that might have children between the ages of 2 to 5 or want support with their reading. Are there any other questions? One thing I just want us to leave us with is, once with this quote, once you learn to read, you will be forever free. That's from Frederick Douglass. To learn to read is to light a fire, and indeed it is. Every syllable that is spelled out is a spark. And that was by Victor Hugo. And today a reader, tomorrow a leader. That's from Margaret Fuller. Our children can really do a lot once they're able to read. And that skill of reading is a lifelong skill that cannot be taken away from them. And we've seen repeatedly over time that when children learn to read early, it makes a huge impact in their education and their journey as they grow. So it's always a skill that your child will always use. And one of the questions the parents asked as well was, does it matter that if it's American English, if it's Canadian English, or it's British English? English language is English language anywhere in the world. And we are not teaching intonation or accent. We're teaching basically how to decode words of the English language. So the program is relevant to our children, irrespective of wherever they live. Okay, to call it a night, if we do not have any more questions, thank you so much for spending your Thursday evening with me. I give you back 11 minutes and you can enjoy the rest. Or, I mean, it's been a wonderful time with you. Thank you for being a great audience and for the questions that you've shared with me and for sharing your child details with me as well. I appreciate it. And yeah, I just hope we do something about it. Please take action if you need support with your child. Have a good evening and thank you. And we hope to be able to support your child in their reading journey. Have a good evening. Thank you.